Feeling the terrifying sword slashing down on him in the sky, the cold hairs all over Jason's body stood up for an instant. A shadow of death suddenly floated in his mind, making his heart tighten all of a sudden. For the first time under the terrifying attack of slime, Jason felt the threat of death. However, there was no fear on his face. His eyes were calm, and he faced the slime proudly. The 5 elements of spiritual power in his body under the extremely fast operation of the spirit god art, it suddenly became violent. At the same time, the golden spirit beads, wood spirit beads, and earth spirit beads in Jason's mind were also spinning rapidly. At this moment, all the 5 elements of spiritual power in Jason's body were boiling. The law of the 5 elements, mutual growth and mutual restraint, creates the world, and is invincible. The god-destroying technique has 17 times the combat power. Jason roared, his eyes red, as if he was crazy. Die. Within the body, the strange black power circulated crazily along the trajectory of the god-destroying art. A unique domineering aura emerged from Jason, and the amplitude of 7 times the combat power suddenly blessed him. Boom. 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 The 7th level advanced spiritual power in Jason's body reached an unimaginable level at this moment. The 5-color divine rainbow filled his whole body and turned into 5-color gods. Even his 8th-level peak body, his meridians were also unable to hold up, and there was a dull pain under the terrifying torrent of spiritual power. An indescribable terrifying power suddenly rose from Jason's body, and the terrifying pressure made the entire sky darken in an instant. As if the end was coming, everyone had difficulty breathing. Facing the slime's crazy attack, Jason no longer held back at all. He increased his fighting power to the maximum at once. A ball of light burst out from his eyes, and the black heavy sword in his hand suddenly slashed out. Boom! The black long sword turned into a black angry dragon, shattering the space and rushing towards the slime instantly. In the sky, a giant black sword and a black roaring heavy sword were rushing, tearing open the sky. In everyone's shocked eyes, they collided like meteorites. Point to point. Boom. 2 weapons containing terrifying spiritual power collided instantly. The space above the entire city of chaos exploded, revealing a large black hole visible to the naked eye. The large black hole shrank sharply and instantly turned into a black ball, containing terrifying energy. At the same time, around the black ball, an aftershock was like a stirred water surface, rippling in all directions. Various spiritual elements violently collided with each other, causing wrinkles and layers of fragmentation in the space. Flash. When people around them saw this scene, Renault and others roared angrily and flew away from the area crazily. The next moment, in everyone's horrified eyes, the ball that shrank into a ball suddenly expanded, and an uncontrollable and earth-shaking explosion suddenly exploded in the void. The entire void was frozen, only a blinding light remained. Terrifying energy, like an approaching tsunami, suddenly exploded in midair. The void suddenly collapsed, revealing a pitch-black black hole in space. The surrounding spiritual elements became chaotic in an instant, forming terrifying spiritual storms. Brilliant spiritual light exploded in the blue sky. Destructive energy spread out from the void and spread around. Wherever it went, the air shattered like glass and turned into space chaos. Flow. Under the bombardment of this terrifying force, most of the people in the entire city of chaos were knocked down involuntarily, and many houses collapsed under the impact of this energy. Lord Jace. However, the people in these chaotic cities were completely unaware of their own situation. They just clenched their fists and looked expectantly at the center of the explosion, praying in their hearts. Renault and others who fled the central battlefield also stopped fighting. They looked straight at the center of the explosion, their faces solemn, their hearts full of worry, and their eyes full of tension. Both sides are eager to know who will win the final victory in this battle. The winning side will completely determine the fate of the other side. Bang! When everyone in the entire city of chaos focused their attention on the slowly dispersing explosion in the sky, a thick elemental smoke suddenly stirred violently, and immediately, two figures rushed out of it one after another. Out. The sudden appearance of two figures immediately attracted the attention of the audience. The one flying in front was none other than the tallest slime in the 13 kingdoms of the Southern Territory. At this moment, he was in an extremely embarrassed state, and his clothes were all in disarray. It was ragged, his body was covered with blood, and his face was full of panic. What was even more embarrassing was that the upper part of the earth-level high-grade spiritual weapon Biju Huangdao, which had shown great power in his hand before, had long since disappeared, leaving only a handle and a small part of the blade were removed. Behind him is Jason, who is holding a black épée. He is covered in a layer of black armor, which is tightly wrapped in black armor. It is the black armor that comes with the Earth Spirit Pearl, but the green armor on his body is the gray robe was also in tatters at the moment, but compared to the slime running away in embarrassment, it was much better. Whoosh! After the slime flew out of the smoke and dust, he kept spraying blood from his mouth, turned into a stream of light, and flew towards the distant sky, as if he was trying to escape from here. Want to escape? Die. Jason, who was chasing behind, had a divine light in his eyes. The black heavy sword in his hand was aimed at the slime and struck out from a distance. Phew! A 5-color divine light instantly cut through the sky and came to the front of the slime. The slime was horrified and used half of his sword to block the 5-color divine light. Pung! The 5-color divine light collided with the half of the sword, and the remaining half of the sword was completely shattered. The 5-color divine light continued unabated and directly passed through the slime's shoulder. Pfft! The slime's right arm was directly hit into powder and chest. There was a bloody mess everywhere, but because of the obstruction of the half-sword, he was not killed. Phew! The slime was spraying blood all over his body. He didn't know what skill he had used. His speed suddenly increased and he disappeared into the sky in an instant. Lord Slime. Seeing this scene, the two remaining Dog Emperor Spiritual Masters and Emperor Spiritual Masters in the 13 kingdoms of Nanshao all showed fear on their faces, and then they looked at each other and ran away one by one. The expressions of Hoffman's group were all filled with fear. Even Master Slime was defeated by Jason's powerful strength, so that they no longer had the courage to resist. Escape. They have only one choice. The two great Imperial Spiritual Masters, Hoffman and DeVito, as well as the 5 or 6 remaining Imperial Spiritual Masters, killed by Loken, immediately fled in all directions. Want to escape? Renault immediately rushed forward, while Loken, Archimedes, and others also rushed towards the Imperial Spirit Masters and attacked without mercy. Those people were not opponents in the first place, and at this moment they had completely lost the confidence to fight, and they did not even have the courage to resist. Under the strong attack of Renault and Loken, there were screams, and everyone was dead. Elsewhere, Falling Sky, even Hoffman and DeVito, are no exception. How could they escape Renault's massacre even if they had the courage to resist? What's more, Jason is here. When the last Imperial Spirit Master of the 13 kingdoms in the Southern Territory died, one by one, it's over, it's finally over. Looking at the somewhat dilapidated city of chaos and the sky filled with the strong smell of blood, Renault and others were all stunned. He couldn't help but murmured. Immediately, a group of people immediately surrounded Jason. Master! Lord Jason! Everyone looked at Jason with great excitement. A large group of people landed at the Kongsi family mansion in the center of the city of chaos. At this time, the whole city also burst into deafening cheers. Voice. Pfft. As soon as Jason fell down, a trace of blood flowed from the corner of his mouth. Jason! Master! Renault and others suddenly panicked. I'm fine, Father Archimedes. When I came here, I saw the team from the 13 kingdoms of the Southern Mystery still nearly 100 miles away. Now that Slime and the others are dead, you should quickly launch a counterattack. Jason said. The Slime was seriously injured and escaped. I will heal his injuries first, and I will chase him later. I can't let him escape. Under the previous huge bombardment, Jason also suffered a lot of trauma, which made him he had to heal his wounds before he could pursue them. After Jason finished speaking, he immediately closed his eyes to heal his wounds. Seeing this scene, Archimedes also hurriedly arranged for the Jaws of Chaos team to launch a counterattack against the 13 kingdoms of the Southern Mysteries stationed 100 miles away from the City of Chaos. Under the healing of the Wood Spirit Pearl in his body, Jason spent half an hour to heal a lot of the injuries in his body. After there were no serious problems, Jason flew out without waiting for the injuries to heal. The City of Chaos pursued the Slime in the direction it fled. This pursuit lasted until evening before Jason returned to the City of Chaos. Jason, have you found the Slime? Renaud asked with concern as soon as Jason came back, and everyone in the hall also focused their attention on Jason. After all, that Slime was an 8th-level senior Imperial spiritual master. If he were allowed to escape, everyone would feel a little uneasy. Facing everyone's gaze, Jason shook his head. I have been chasing the east for thousands of miles, but I still can't find the shadow of the Slime. But don't worry, the Slime has cast a forbidden spell, and he was seriously injured by me, and in the end, I cut off one of his right arms. No matter how strong he was, he would not survive for more than a month, unless he met a powerful elixir to treat him. However, even if he has an 8th level, the Emperor's elixir master saved him, but he will also become a useless person, which is nothing to worry about. Jason said with certainty. In his previous life, he was a 9th level elixir master. Among other things, he was the most competent in identifying the injuries of others. This was why Jason had not pursued him immediately before. The reason is because the Slime cannot live for more than a month. Even if it survives, it can only become a useless person. Everyone in the hall breathed a sigh of relief. Jason looked at the sky in the distance, but he sighed in his heart. Originally, he was very curious about how the Slime, who was the top master in a small place like the 13 Kingdoms of the Southern Mystery, which was just a remote place in Inyalu, was not weaker than the average 8th level Slime. The astonishing strength of the Peak Emperor spiritual master, now, this doubt can only be kept in his heart forever. Lord Jason, if you hadn't arrived in time today, our City of Chaos would have been lost to the Slime and others. In the hall, Gandalf looked at Jason excitedly and endured. I couldn't help but sigh with emotion. After hearing Gandalf's words, everyone present nodded with fear. Originally, they just thought that among the teams entering the Chaos territory, only 7th-level Imperial spiritual masters like Sharon were powerful, but not unstoppable. In addition, with Renaud, an 8th-level Imperial spiritual master here, he decided to stick to the City of Chaos, but he did not expect that Slime and all the 6 Imperial spiritual masters from the 13 kingdoms in the southern region would have arrived in the territory of Chaos long ago. When they suddenly appeared before, Archimedes and the others were suddenly filled with despair. Fortunately, Jason arrived in time and powerfully defeated the Slime, the top master of the 13 kingdoms in the southern region, and even the remaining ones. The 5 Emperor spiritual masters and nearly 10 Imperial spiritual masters were all killed, instantly resolving the crisis in the territory of Chaos. Even thinking about it now, Archimedes and the others still have lingering fears, and they also have a dreamlike feeling about Jason's strong strength. Archimedes, how are the troops of the 13 kingdoms in the southern region doing now? Jason looked at Archimedes and asked. Master. Archimedes stood up and said, when you were chasing the Slime this afternoon, we had already led the team of the Chaos Leader to defeat the 13 kings of Nanchao stationed outside the city. Now, Nanchao, most of the troops in the 13 kingdoms have been killed or captured, and a small number of troops are still escaping and retreating, while our troops from the territory of Chaos are also pursuing and cleaning up. Archimedes was a little excited. He said, with a trace of killing intent rising in his eyes. For more than a year, as the acting leader of the territory of chaos, he knew deeply how the armies of the 13 kingdoms in the southern territory burned, killed, and plundered in the territory of chaos. Due to his strength, Archimedes had been enduring, and continued to evacuate the people, but a large number of people were still killed. Nearly 100 of the more than 300 cities in the entire chaos territory were occupied and were in a mess. Every time he thought about this, Archimedes felt extremely painful. Now, the appearance of Jason has caused 10 people in the southern territory to the armies of the 3 kingdoms were leaderless, and Archimedes, who had thrown away his armor and discarded his armor, finally swept away the anger that had accumulated for more than a year and felt extremely happy in his heart. Jason nodded. Master, in addition to the middle road, the 13 kingdoms of Nanxia in our chaotic territory also have 2 more troops that are weaker than the middle road. They are capturing various cities on the north and south wings. I plan to send people there tomorrow. Now, all the Emperor Spiritual Masters and Imperial Spirit Masters in the entire 13 kingdoms of Southern Mystery have fallen. Although their armies are more elite and well-trained than our soldiers from the territory of chaos, without strong men sitting in command, it is impossible to block our counterattack from the territory of chaos. I believe that within a few days, we will be able to plunder all the cities we lost from the opponent's hands, and even be able to counterattack the 13 kingdoms of the southern region. Archimedes gritted his teeth and said. Counterattack against the Fengsan kingdom in the southern territory. After hearing what Archimedes said, the eyes of the Reagan clan leader, Gandalf and others present lit up. In this invasion, the 13 kingdoms of the southern territory sent almost all the powerful men in the kingdom, including 6 Emperor Spiritual Masters and more than 10 Imperial Spiritual Masters. Now that these people have died, the 13 kingdoms of the southern territory can be said to be empty. Incomparably, even if there are powerful ones at the level of Emperor Spiritual Masters, there are at most a sporadic 7th level, low level, and intermediate Emperor Spiritual Masters who can't stop everyone's attack at all. Gandalf and others were extremely excited at the thought of being able to incorporate such a large area of the 13 kingdoms of the southern region into their own territory. This is not an impossible thing. The 13 kingdoms of the southern territory are bordered by the territory of chaos. There is only a small desert plain in between. There is no obstruction. This is why the 13 kingdoms of the southern territory can send large armies into the territory of chaos. The most important reason. The territory of chaos and the Salem Empire are separated by mountains, and there are only a few distant small trade routes. With the strength of the Salem Empire, it would have been easy to annex the territory of chaos, but it was this mountain range that completely blocked their thoughts of invasion. Think about it, just sending troops to cross this mountain range will take at least a year, and there are many dangers in the mountains. Soldiers can easily suffer heavy casualties without any attack. Of course, the Salem Empire can definitely send some powerful Emperor Spiritualists and Emperor Spiritualists directly to the territory of chaos, but with just a few dozen powerful people, no matter how powerful they are, in this poor and vast land, what can be done? Even if they destroy one city after another, it will not help at all. Even if they are captured, they will not be incorporated into the empire's territory. But the 13 kingdoms in the southern region are different. As long as the territory of chaos conquers the other party, it can completely annex the other party and become its own power. You must know that although the area of the 13 kingdoms in the southern territory is only 1/3 of the territory of chaos, their overall strength is higher than that of the territory of chaos. Year-round battles have made the people among them strong, even for an ordinary person. The people all have the ability to protect themselves, and the 10 worlds are richer than the territory of chaos. It is just because there is no strong political power to unify them, they are not within the sphere of influence of the Twin Towers, and there are no key professions such as elixir masters, which leads to extreme chaos. Countries are constantly fighting among themselves and cannot get rich. Many extremely talented geniuses have they all died in the war, which is a pity. And if the 13 kingdoms of the southern territory are annexed by the territory of chaos, with the management and elixir knowledge of Archimedes and others, they can completely merge the 13 kingdoms of the Southern Territory together, stop fighting, and become a peaceful area. Grow like the Chaos Territory. You must know that the territory of chaos is so barren that it can only rely on the elixirs in the Cloud Swamp, one of the 7 forbidden areas in the mainland, to be unified, and then with the development of the Elixir Doctor Association, in just 5 years, there have been such earth-shaking changes, and the strength of the strong among them has improved qualitatively. Once the 13 kingdoms of the Southern Territory are unified and develop like the territory of chaos, a small empire comparable to the 4 major empires can be formed in a few decades. At the thought of this possibility, the expressions of Patriarch Reagan, Master Gandalf, and Elder Maria became extremely excited. As the controllers of the major families and forces in the territory of chaos, the first thing that comes to their mind is profit. For a moment, everyone present set their eyes on Jason, full of hope. Counterattack against the 13 kingdoms in the southern region? Jason felt the excited expressions of everyone present and said with a smile, "As long as you have the ability, I have no objection, but before that, the destroyed cities must be rebuilt. Construction, and the system of our territory of chaos should also be changed. It can no longer be loosely managed city by city." When thinking of the dead cities he passed through, Jason couldn't help but feel sad. As a chaotic man, as the true leader of the territory, it can be said that these dead people are all his people. After hearing Jason's affirmative answer, the faces of Chief Reagan and others couldn't help but be extremely excited. "Lord Jason, in that case, why don't we also establish a kingdom?" Chief Reagan suggested. "At that time, after we capture the 13 kingdoms of the southern region, we can even establish the 5th largest empire on the mainland." Yes, establish a kingdom first, and then annex the 13 kingdoms in the southern region to establish an empire. Patriarch Maria and others also said with bright eyes. "Establish an empire?" Jason suddenly laughed. "Do you think an empire is so easy to build?" "Then we can also establish a king first," said Chief Reagan. "Establishing a kingdom?" Jason was silent for a while, but then shook his head. "Why, Sir Jason?" Reagan and others were puzzled. Weak in strength, Jason looked at everyone present and said solemnly, "We are all still too weak in strength. Now in the territory of chaos, the reason why the 13 kingdoms in Nanching have not been paid attention to by the major forces in the Dog Continent, firstly because of its remote location, and secondly because it was too weak and did not attract attention. However, if a kingdom or empire is established, it will easily attract the attention of many powerful forces. You must know that during the period of chaos in the mainland 1,000 years ago, in addition to the 4 great empires, there were many kingdoms and forces that claimed empires with their self-confidence. However, without exception, they all collapsed in the turbulent situation and nothing was left. Only the 4 empires can truly last forever. Jason can guarantee that if the territory of chaos immediately annexes the 13 kingdoms of the Southern Territory and declares an empire, it will probably not be long before it is disintegrated by the surrounding Salem Empire and other forces. A few kittens were jumping around, and the Saran Empire and other major forces would not care. However, if this kitten wanted to stretch out its fangs and transform into a tiger, these top major forces would not allow it. What we have to do now is to develop slowly. As for conquering the 13 kingdoms in the southern region, we can also proceed, but establishing kingdoms and empires is for the time being. Moreover, on the mainland, any kingdoms or empires are just names. That's all, only strong strength is eternal. Jason said slowly. Like the Northwest Kingdoms, there are a lot of kingdoms in it, but the strongest one is only the 7th level Emperor, Spiritual Master. The Rubiner Kingdom is also just a kingdom, but it is comparable to the entire Northwest Kingdoms. This is Gap. Although Reagan and others have grown in strength over the years, as they were born in the territory of chaos, their horizons are too small after all. Moreover, Jason also has his own persistence in his heart. With his character, he either doesn't do something or does it to the best of his ability. He suddenly stands out and becomes a force that cannot be ignored in the entire continent, instead of being a high-profile person when he is so weak now. Appear. After Jason's dissuasion, Reagan and others also changed their minds. In fact, Reno also had the idea of establishing a kingdom, but when Jason said this, he didn't even mention it. Just forget it. On the contrary, Archimedes didn't feel anything about it. This is the difference between an elixir and a spiritual master. As a spiritual medicine master, Jason, Archimedes, and others spend more time on learning and research, while spiritual masters like Renaud also hope to establish a spiritual medicine master while improving their own strength. A powerful force. In the days that followed, Master Gandalf and others began to organize the territory of chaos, dividing each city into regions according to size and geographical location, forming a political structure like a province. Chief Reagan, on the other hand, led the troops from the Chaos Territory to continuously sweep through, capturing captives and a large number of troops from the 13 kingdoms of the southern region, and captured back all the cities that had been lost in more than a year. Of course, there were many more. The elixir masters who were previously plundered by the 13 kingdoms of the Southern Territory were sent back by the kings of each of the 13 kingdoms of the Southern Territory. Yes, it was sent back. When Slime was seriously injured, Khon-Tun and other 5 imperial spiritual masters, Sharon and more than a dozen of the top masters of the 13 kingdoms of the Southern Territory, and Jindu were killed by the Chaos Territory, the news spread to the 13 kingdoms of the Southern Territory. All the 13 kingdoms in the southern region were shocked. The kings of those kingdoms all sent the elixirs that they had previously plundered from the territory of chaos from the 13 kingdoms of the southern region to the border of the territory of chaos respectfully. At the same time, they also prayed in their hearts that the territory of chaos would not do anything to them. They went to war. You must know that since the death of Khon-Tun and the others, there are only a few imperial spiritual masters left in the entire 13 kingdoms of the southern region, and they are all low-level and intermediate imperial spiritual masters. They cannot stop the attack of the territory of chaos at all. What puzzled both the Chaos Territory and the 13 southern kingdoms was that the slime that was seriously injured by Jason and escaped did not escape back to the 13 southern kingdoms and was completely missing. Otherwise, with the slimes coming back to support them, the 13 kingdoms of the southern region would not be so cowed. But will the Chaos Realm stop its crusade against the 13 kingdoms of the southern region? The answer is obviously no. While Reagan and others were discussing and planning how to conquer and occupy the 13 kingdoms in the Southern Territory, Jason, who had just returned to the City of Chaos these days, was practicing again. Originally, it was rare for Jason to return to the City of Chaos. He should have a good time with his father, Reno, and his disciple Archimedes, but this battle with Slime and others made him realize a lot. Naturally, Jason was not willing to waste such a good opportunity easily. After spending a day to completely heal his body, he completely fell into practice. The City of Chaos, the residence of the Kongsi family. The night was getting deeper and quieter, as black as ink. However, in an open space in the center of the mansion, a figure was quietly sitting cross-legged. It was Jason, who was practicing with his eyes closed. Rays of 5-color divine light bloomed on his body, illuminating the entire courtyard. Like a long river, the 5 elements of spiritual power were constantly flowing, washing into his body, filling his meridians and body. Shwa! Suddenly, Jason's closed eyes suddenly opened, and a green light bloomed from his eyes. He suddenly stood up, and an inexplicable aura rose from his body and continued to rise. Buzz! Jason, who was originally exuding 5 colors of divine light, instantly turned green, and the terrifying spiritual power spread out. The yard where the 5 elements originally circulated suddenly turned into a sea of water elements. The whole world was filled with soft water elements, reflecting Jason's face into a faint green. Water, gentle, breeds all things in the world, it tolerates everything, water is persevering, a drop of water can penetrate a stone, and it can also destroy all the shackles in the world, Jason murmured. His figure swayed slightly, and the water element lingered around him, constantly evolving. The power flows, making Jason addicted to it. At this moment, he was recalling the power of the water system shown by the 8th level intermediate water type Imperial Spiritual Master Hoffman, the #1 master of the Yalu Kingdom in the 13 kingdoms of the southern region, who was killed earlier, during the battle. It's mysterious. What is the power of the original law of the water system? Jason murmured, trying to understand the power of the original law of the water system, but he was at a loss. His figure swayed, and the water elements in the sky continued to dissipate. The originally rich green elements slowly transformed into the power of cyanwood elements. In an instant, the entire yard no longer had any water element power, and was completely formed the elemental power of the wood system. Buzz. In Jason's mind, the wood spirit pearl suddenly started spinning, and streams of rich wood-type vitality spread throughout Jason's body. Wood element represents vitality, represents life, 1 year old and 1 withering, prosperity and withering, the beginning of life, life and death. Jason murmured in his mouth, feeling the vitality of the wood element spiritual power in his body, and comprehending the meaning of it. Mysterious. Gradually, the vitality of the wood element in the yard turned into fiery red fire elements. The fire elements in the sky continued to transform into firebirds, and clusters of flames flew and danced in the sky above the yard. The whole yard was illuminated in red. Fire, passion, irritability, burns everything and destroys the world. Fire also brings wisdom, develops civilization, and achieves eternal achievements. At some point, the wing-colored épée appeared in Jason's hand, and he clung to it. The cold heavy sword felt the breath of fire, destroying everything. At the same time, in Jason's mind, the scene of the 8th level low-level fire-type Imperial Spiritual Master DeVito, the #1 master of Luoyao Kingdom among the 13 kingdoms of the Southern Territory, kept reappearing in his mind. The flames filled the sky, and the deep imprinted into Jason's heart. In the courtyard of the Kang's family mansion, the flames quickly dissipated, as if being incinerated, and turned into a pile of ashes. In the ashes, there was a strong aura of earth element. Unknowingly, the entire courtyard was filled with earth element. Elements. Earth is thick, stable, and down to earth. It can resist the invasion of all things. Earth nourishes the world and is rich in everything, allowing people to thrive. Jason stepped on the earth with his bare feet, and the pulse of the earth followed Jason's body, enter his mind. The earth spirit beads in Jason's mind spun, and his body was instantly surrounded by black armor. He became more aware of the earth elements in the surrounding space, and traces of the earth element's origins continued to penetrate into Jason's mind. In Sen's heart, Jason was fascinated. Jason recalled the previous battle with the slime. The Overlord Imperial sword was slashed down, and the endless earth elements were boiling. The earth elements, which represented the pressure of the Emperor, kept echoing in Jason's mind for a long time. In a trance, the endless earth elements suddenly collapsed, and dazzling golden light bloomed from the hands of the entire courtyard. Jason seemed to have become a golden god of war, with countless golden sword rainbows flying around his body. The golden spirit beads in Jason's mind were spinning rapidly. Buzz. The metal elemental barrier suddenly dispersed from Jason's body and enveloped the entire courtyard. The courtyard that originally gave people a deep and heavy feeling suddenly turned into a sea of metal elements, and the entire world, the powerful golden, spiritual power filled the air, rendering the entire Kong Sea family mansion a golden glow. Gold, the most powerful, the most powerful. If you go forward indomitably, you can destroy everything in the world. Gold can also turn into a finger-twirling ghost. Jason is like a golden god who created the world, with golden light blooming all over his body, and the light in his eyes flow around and step out of the void at once. The golden spiritual elements in the air suddenly boiled, and they combined strangely. Countless golden sword shadows flew out from Jason's body. Thousands of golden lights appeared in the entire yard, naturally forming a sword world. Just like that, Jason stood quietly in the yard, the endless sword shadow gradually dissipated, and finally disappeared completely. However, the pressure from his aura has not diminished, but has only increased. Immediately, his body emitted light again, and the five-color light continued to shine on his body, gorgeous and beautiful. Metal, wood, water, fire, earth. The evolution of the five elements is endless, and the Great Road will last forever. The rules of the five elements were clearly presented in Jason's mind, and they were all inexplicable mysteries, all evolved in Jason's mind, and finally, the five elements were unified, forming a cycle of the five elements, which was connected in Jason's body. The power in Jason's body continued to increase, and finally he said, "Ah." Jason looked up to Dayan. The seventh level advanced spiritual power in his body boiled all of a sudden. His aura kept climbing, trying to break through the shackles of the seventh level and reach the eighth level. Terrifying spiritual power surged again and again, but just when Jason's aura reached it, pung! The entire void suddenly collapsed, and the five-color divine light on Jason's body suddenly collapsed and turned into a sky-filled sky. The spiritual elements dissipated in the air, and the original aura of the five elements that filled the sky also began to recede. Ahem! Jason's body shook, and his face instantly turned pale. Failed? Why failed? Jason murmured in his heart, and then break it for me. Jason roared in his heart. Boom! The breath in Jason's body slowly gathered again, and five colors of divine light appeared on his body again, rushing towards the peak. Pung! However, when Jason's aura climbed to its peak again, it still failed to break through the seventh level barrier. Entering the eighth level, one impact failed, the power weakened, and the spiritual elements all over the sky suddenly dissipated, and the original aura of the five elements disappeared. Retreat again. Cough. A sickly blush appeared on Jason's face, and a trace of blood flowed involuntarily from the corner of his mouth. Failed again? Why failed? How can we break through from the seventh level to the eighth level? In the yard, Jason muttered, frowning, ignoring his injured body, and wiped the corner of his mouth bloodshot. The whole person fell into deep thought. A seventh-level Imperial Spiritual Master who wants to advance to an eighth-level Imperial Spiritual Master needs the accumulation of spiritual power and the understanding of the laws. In terms of spiritual power accumulation, the seventh-level high-level spiritual power in my body has completely reached its peak. Moreover, many seventh-level high-level Imperial Spiritual Masters on the mainland can absorb spiritual power slowly after more than 10 years of repair, and can completely reach the peak of the seventh level. The reason why they are stuck at the advanced seventh level and can never reach the eighth level of the Emperor Spiritual Master is because they do not have enough understanding of the laws of elements. But I am not familiar with the mysteries of the law. Apart from anything else, I have long been able to use the world of swords in terms of the laws of metal elements. This is a state that many 8th-level senior Emperor Spiritual Masters may not be able to achieve, and in terms of other elemental attributes, although it is not comparable to the laws of the metal system are good, but at least with the wood spirit beads and the earth spirit beads, the wood and earth laws are not weak. But why? I can't break through the 7th level advanced realm and reach the 8th level Emperor level. What is missing? Jason murmured, with doubt and disbelief in his eyes. I, Jason, am so powerful that I have surpassed most of the 8th level senior Emperor Spiritual Masters, and have reached the realm of the 8th level peak Emperor Spiritual Master. Earth spirit beads, wood spirit beads, and golden spirit beads, all of them are capable of defeating me. My understanding of the laws far exceeds that of others, and what is even more astonishing is the understanding of the laws of the metal system. The 7th level advanced master has understood the world of swords. It is shocking to say that it is enough to shock the world. There may not be one in the mainland for thousands of years, but even so, what's going on if you can't break through the 7th level of advanced level and reach the 8th level of Emperor Spiritual Master? Jason couldn't understand all this at all. I can't understand it at all. The promotion from the 7th level to the 8th level is entirely about law understanding. One is to incarnate the elements, and the other is to control the elements, to form an elemental barrier. When it comes to controlling the elements, Jason, who can even condense the elemental handprints, can definitely do this. And in terms of strength, Jason has definitely surpassed the 8th level advanced level and has just entered the 8th level peak realm. An Emperor Spiritual Master, whose conditions are comparable to those of an 8th level peak Emperor Spiritual Master in all aspects, is actually unable to enter the realm of a low-level 8th level Emperor Spiritual Master? This Jason, who was not a spiritual master in his previous life and had never practiced spiritual power, couldn't figure out the reason. Is it true, as Elder Sevlin said at the beginning, that it is because of the many attributes in my body? Jason wondered, but the reason why I have so many attributes in my body is entirely because the spiritual god Ard has no attributes. Therefore, the 5-element attributes that appear are due to taking the 8th level Emperor level 5-element reincarnation potion. In fact, the essence is still the attributes of the spirit god Ard. Is this a limitation? We have to wait until all the 5-element attributes reach extremely amazing levels. To reach the 8th level of the Emperor? Or is it for other reasons? Jason didn't understand. How can I be promoted to the 8th level Imperial Spiritual Master? Jason said softly. As a spiritual medicine master, he immediately thought about the method in terms of spiritual medicine, but because of practicing the spiritual god Ard, I advanced from the 6th level high-level spiritual master to the 7th level low-level Emperor Spiritual Master, which required me to take the 8th level high-level 5 elements reincarnation potion. Healer, what level of spiritual potion do you need to take? A 9th level holy level spiritual potion? Jason couldn't help but laugh at himself. In his previous life, he devoted himself to studying spiritual consciousness and spiritual potion, desperately improving his physical strength, causing his physical strength to increase rapidly. Moreover, he had several powerful followers in his previous life, so he didn't need to spend much energy collecting materials on his own. Someone had to prepare them for him. But in this life, as a spiritual master and a spiritual medicine master, he needs to spend too much energy. He does not spend much energy on physical strength, and there are no top strong men who can't stop. He could only rely on himself to collect elixir materials for him, which also resulted in Jason's physical strength still being at the peak of the 8th level and not yet entering the 9th level. More importantly, Jason also understands that relying on elixirs to upgrade is a last resort, because excessive use of elixirs will cause the healer to become dependent on elixirs. In the end, every time he is promoted, he must use elixirs and cannot break through on your own. This is also the reason why Jason was fully capable of using spiritual potions to upgrade Loken from the 7th level high level to the 8th level low level, but did not do so. With Lokuan's wood spirit body, there is no bottleneck at all. He only needs to keep accumulating. It is a sure thing to advance to the 8th level of Emperor Spiritual Master. However, using spiritual potions to advance him would seem to be counterproductive. After all, directly gaining enlightenment of the law by taking spiritual potions is the same as comprehending the law of elements by oneself. Although the final result is to comprehend the law, the effect is the same. However, the process of comprehending by oneself is also a process of accumulation and cultivation. For a spiritual master, it will be helpful for future development. It seems that my understanding of the 5 elements law is not enough, and I need to continue to work hard. Jason secretly said, as long as I really understand the law, I will definitely be able to advance to the lower level of the 8th level. Thinking of this, Jason felt calm again. Isn't it just about comprehending the law? If I still don't believe it, I won't be able to advance to the 8th level. If it were an ordinary spiritual master, I would have been discouraged long ago when encountering this situation. The understanding of the law is not just understood. This requires opportunity and talent. Don't you know how many 7th level high-level imperial spiritual masters there are on the entire continent, being stuck at this level, unable to enter the 8th level Emperor spiritual master realm for the rest of his life? But there is no pressure in Jason's heart. He was reborn into this world at the age of 17. Now he is 24, and it has only been 7 years. In 7 years, he has been promoted all the way from a first-level spiritual disciple. For him, who is now a 7th-level senior imperial spiritual master, with such talent, it is only a matter of time before he is promoted to an 8th-level imperial spiritual master. And who is Jason? Under such circumstances in his previous life, he was able to find his own way and become a 9th-level elixir master. This difficulty was no obstacle to him at all. Even if he really couldn't comprehend it, Jason had completely other ways to advance himself. Jason is very confident about this. Thinking of this, Jason immediately came out of his trance and prepared to walk to his room. He raised his head, only to find that there were an unknown number of people surrounding the empty courtyard at the moment. Renaud and the others were all alarmed by the aura caused by his attack on the 8th-level imperial spiritual master, and they all stood silently at the entrance of the courtyard, looking at him. After seeing Jason looking over, Renaud couldn't help but show a trace of worry in his eyes, but a smile broke out on his face, pretending to be relaxed, and said, "Jason, it's nothing to fail to attack the 8th level. I remember back then, your father and it took several impacts before the impact was successful. This is normal, don't be discouraged." Renaud, who was worried that Jason wouldn't be able to withstand the blow, couldn't help comforting him. After hearing Renaud's words, Jason was stunned for a moment, and then his eyes passed over everyone's faces. After feeling the deep concern in everyone's eyes, he couldn't help but feel a little moved. "Haha, father, I was trapped in the 5th level of spiritual power for so many years in the 6th Spiritual Power Academy, and I was not defeated. Do you think this difficulty can defeat me?" Jason couldn't help but laugh. Seeing Jason's confident expression, Renaud immediately smiled. Thinking back on everything over the years, Renaud couldn't help but nod. Yes, is there anything else in this world that can defeat his son Jason? No. When Jason continued to practice in the City of Chaos, the Sahara Desert. This is a desert in the northern part of the 13 kingdoms in the southern region. The environment is extremely harsh and it is inaccessible all year round. At this moment, at the northern border of the desert, a one-armed figure stumbled out of the desert full of wind and sand. This person was clearly the 8th-level senior imperial spiritual master Slime, the number 1 master of the 13 kingdoms in the southern region, who was injured by Jason. Ahem. As soon as Slime walked out of the desert, he coughed up 2 mouthfuls of blood. He raised his head and looked forward with weak eyes, where a black city was looming. Slime's face immediately showed joy, and he flew up unsteadily and rushed towards the city. After a moment, the city appeared in front of him. This is an extremely spectacular city, completely dark, with the word Southern City written on the city gate. Sin City, Nanchang. The city of Sin, twin towers, 3 cities and 4 empires, one of the top 9 powers in the mainland, and one of the 3 cities. Sin City is divided into 5 cities, southeast, northwest, and middle. Among them, the central city is the core of Sin City, and the 4 cities in the southeast, northwest, and northwest are located on its 4 sides, guarding the central city. The slime rushed into the city at once. Who is it? They are running wild in Sin City. The moment the slime rushed into the city, 4 figures suddenly rose from the city gate and surrounded the slime. The terrifying spiritual power dispersed from these 4 people. The 4 people held weapons and sharp eyes, and shouted at the slime. These 4 people are actually 7th-level imperial spiritual masters, but they are only used to guard the city gate. Quickly, inform the Lord of Gilroy City that the slimes from the 13 kingdoms of the southern region are asking for a meeting, Slime said weakly, and at the same time he took out a dark token in his hand. On the dark token, there were 2 strange words, Sin. After taking out the token, Slime could no longer hold on and fell from the sky. Whoosh! One of the 4 people hurriedly caught him, and at the same time exclaimed, "It's a sin order, hurry up, inform the Lord of the city." The 4 people took the slime and flew past quickly. Heading towards the center of the Black City, a huge building stood there, giving people endless majesty. Sin City Nanchang. This is a majestic building, all black and magnificent. The entire hall is dozens of feet high and has an extremely wide area. Looking from a distance, it gives people an extremely suffocating feeling. Here is where the main palace of Nanchang City, one of the 4 branches of Sin City, is located. It represents the center of power of Nanchang, Sin City, and possesses endless majesty. The meeting hall of the Lord's Mansion in Nanchang, the city of Sin. This is a majestic hall. Generally, the city lord's palace in other cities is built magnificently. Even if there is a meeting hall, it will be built magnificently, giving people a bright and majestic feeling. But this main hall is completely black and made of unknown materials. The walls of the main hall are carved with countless vivid spiritual beasts, which makes people feel trapped in them at first sight. However, the most terrifying thing is the appearance of these spiritual beasts. All of them are ferocious in appearance, huge in size, and are fighting each other fiercely. Either biting enemy beasts, or slapping the heads of other spirit beasts to pieces, or looking up to the sky and howling, exposing their ferocious and bloody fangs. Their heads were miserable, with blood flowing all over the ground, silently wailing in pain, deeply felt. It reflects into people's eyes and gives people an unspeakable shock to their souls. At this moment, in this hall, a group of men in black robes, with different appearances, are standing there quietly. Each of them has an astonishing aura on their bodies, and the weakest among them are all 7th-level Imperial spiritual masters, and the auras of the people at the front were even more astonishingly powerful. With this astonishing Imperial power, it was obvious that they were all 8th level or even peak powerhouses. Such a strong man is a prestigious figure no matter where he is placed in the mainland. Even in the 4 major empires of the mainland, he can definitely become the patriarch of the top family in the empire. However, at this moment, this group of them would be a frightening attack to the outside world, but they stood respectfully in the hall with their heads lowered, not daring to make the slightest move. Just because of that Yowzi sitting on the throne at the top of the hall. This was a thin man wearing a khaki robe, with hair that looked like thousands of writhing brown poisonous snakes. This man just sat there quietly, giving people an endless sense of majesty. That terrifying aura made time and space tremble involuntarily, as if he had become the core of the world. In front of him, all the lowly people held their breath and concentrated, not daring to show the slightest disrespect. This man is Gilroy, the 9th-level low-level Holy Spirit Master of South City, one of the 4 Davids of Sin City. He is the only king in this sinful city, Nanchang, and no one dares to disobey him in the slightest. Just as this group of people stood silently in the main hall, an old man wearing a spiritual master's robe quickly walked in from the main hall. "Lord City Lord." He knelt down on one knee and said respectfully, "Then the slime is awake." "Awake? Okay, everyone, please step aside." Gilroy stood up, walked down the hall, and then walked towards walking outside. He said at the same time, "Come on, Tony, take me to see the slime. Jeremy, the 3 of you come over together." "Yes." Under the main hall, the 3 people at the front suddenly appeared. He made a sound, and then followed Gilroy and walked out together. After Gilroy's back disappeared, the remaining people in the hall retreated. After a while, the 5 Gilroys appeared in a room. In the center of the room, there was a big bed. The slime with a broken right arm was lying there collapsed. The whole room was filled with a strong elixir. The taste of. "Master Gilroy, you must avenge me." Seeing the leading man, Slime suddenly said weakly and wanted to sit up, but with only one arm, how could he? He couldn't support his body either. "Revenge for you? Slime, aren't you the guardian of the Dick Kingdom of the 13 kingdoms in the southern region? How did you become like this? Who hurt you?" Gilroy looked at Slime and said indifferently. "Lord Gilroy, he is a guy named Jace, from the Chaos Territory." After hearing Gilroy's question, Slime gritted his teeth and said, his eyes full of hatred. "Lead of Chaos, Jace? Gilroy frowned. What is going on? You are a disciple who left my sin city. With your strength and the use of forbidden techniques, ordinary 8th level senior the Emperor spiritual master is no match for you at all. I know that the Chaos Territory is just a small force close to the Cloud and Mist Swamp. It is almost impossible to find an 8th level Emperor Spirit Master among them. No one should be able to hurt you, right? Moreover, as the leader of the 13 kingdoms in the southern region, what do you have to do with the territory of chaos? This slime turned out to be a disciple from Sin City, one of the 9 major forces in the mainland. It is no wonder that he has the Overlord Emperor. Swords, spiritual forbidden techniques, something that ordinary Emperor spiritual masters don't have. Lord Gilroy, this is what happened. Slime immediately struggled to understand the changes in the territory of chaos in recent years, as well as the cultivation of a large number of elixir masters, and the attack on chaos by the 13 kingdoms in the southern territory in the past year or so. I told Gilroy about the territory. This territory of chaos actually has new owners. One is named Lei and the other is named Jace. They also unified the territory of chaos and trained many elixir masters. It's interesting. Gilroy said with a slight smile. His face it was completely calm, without any change. With Gilroy's identity and status, he really doesn't need to care about any changes in a small place like the territory of chaos. You said you were injured by that Jace? What is the origin of Jace? Could it be that he is an 8th level Imperial spiritual master? Gilroy continued to ask. The only possibility that could seriously injure a slime but fail to kill him was an 8th level peak Emperor spiritual master. Lord Gilroy, I don't know what level Jace is, but he does have the strength of an 8th level peak Imperial spiritual master, and Lei is an 8th level intermediate Emperor spiritual master. More importantly, Jace seems to be only in his 20s. Speaking of Jason, Slime's eyes were filled with hatred. More than 20 years old? Gilroy couldn't help being surprised. Slime, are you mistaken? What is the concept of an 8th level peak Imperial spiritual master in his 20s? Even in Sin City, where he is one of the 9 major forces in the mainland, there is no such genius. Dogman, I am absolutely not talking nonsense. Jace is so powerful at such a young age. When he grows up in the future, he may become a mortal enemy of our Sin City. Lord Gilroy, you must fight for our Nanchao. The people of the 13 kingdoms must take revenge. Slime said painfully. Avenge you? Gilroy smiled. Slime, tell me, what is the real reason why you attacked the territory of chaos? Don't tell me it's for the elixir master of the territory of chaos, you, the 13th in the southern territory. It's true that the kingdom lacks elixir masters, but it's not like all the imperial elixir masters will be mobilized for some elixir masters, which will eventually lead to the annihilation of the entire army. Slime glanced at himself, who had lost his arm and was lying on the bed in a panic, struggling to survive. He knew, relying on himself, I am afraid that he will never be able to get revenge in this life. Thinking of this, he immediately gritted his teeth and said, Sir Gilroy, all the Emperor spiritual masters of our 13 kingdoms in the south are going to the Chaos Territory. There is indeed someone else. For one reason. After a moment, Gilroy walked out of the room, his face that had always been indifferent now filled with excitement. The Maze of Death, the treasure of the spiritual god, Nale and Jace who entered it, their strength has greatly increased in just a few years, and they have even mastered the laws of the gold system in the world of Xie. Gilroy looked at the Chaos Territory in the southwest. There, with a smile on his face, interesting, indeed very interesting. Master Gilroy, do you want us to bring Nale and Jace back to you? On the side, one of the 3 strong men following Gilroy, one of the people spoke up. Bring it back? No, it's just right. I haven't been out for a long time. I plan to go to the Chaos Territory in person. I really want to see Jace, who has reached the 8th level of the peak Emperor spiritual master in his 20s. Who exactly is he? You 3, please come with me. Gilroy said indifferently. Yes, sir. The three strong men said respectfully, and the one who spoke before said again, "Sir, what should I do with the slime now?" Slime? Gilroy turned his attention to the substitute. On the elixir healer who was being treated by the slime, "Tony, how is the slime's injury?" "Sir Gilroy, the slime's injury is very serious. With my attainments in elixir science, I don't dare to guarantee that I will be able to rescue him," Tony said. "What? Master Tony, you are a 7th level senior imperial spiritual master, but you can't save that slime?" Some of the three people on the side couldn't help but be surprised. "Jeremy, you don't know that the slime used the forbidden technique and was already extremely damaged. Most of the meridians in the body were cut off by someone, and one of his arms was broken. Even if I am 7, even a high-level elixir master can hardly say that he will be able to save his life, and let alone me, even if he is sent to Sin City and asked to be treated by those adults, the most he can do is save his life and save his life. In the end, I'm afraid I'll just be a useless person." Tony shook his head. "After being revived, will he still be a useless person?" Gilroy said indifferently. In that case, Gilroy's eyes flashed coldly. In the ward where slime was, Jeremy, who had gone out with Gilroy earlier, returned. "Jeremy, what did Master Gilroy say?" Slime gritted his teeth and said. He believed that after hearing the news about the spiritual god treasure, even Master Gilroy, a 9th level low-level Holy Spirit master, would not be able to do anything. Reject such attraction. "What do you say?" Jeremy slowly came to Slime's hospital bed, smiled at Slime, and then said, "Whoops." In Slime's horrified eyes, Jeremy pointed at his forehead. A unique mental wave instantly entered the Slime's head. Slime opened his mouth wide, his eyes filled with horror. Then, his pupils gradually lost their luster and no longer had any luster. "I got the news of the spiritual treasure, but I didn't inform you immediately." "Humph, who doesn't know what you think? If you don't lose your strength, you still have some value, but it's a pity," Jeremy sneered, turned and left the room. Only the dead Slime was left, his eyes widened and he refused to rest in peace. Confusion. City, in the mansion of the Kongsi family. "Loken, what are you and your senior brother doing?" Seeing Loken and Archimedes talking in the yard, Jason and Renaud, who had just walked into the yard, immediately showed smiles on their faces. Since Jason failed to attack the 8th level last time, Jason didn't think so much anymore. Since it was rare to come to the territory of chaos once, he didn't want to practice every day. Naturally, he accompanied his father and 2 disciples. As for the affairs of the chaos territory, Jason did not interfere. In the past few years of his absence, Archimedes and the others also managed it very well, dividing the area, recovering the city, and formulating a plan to counterattack the 13 kingdoms of the southern region. For Archimedes and others, it is not a difficult thing. If Jason were to make the plan, he might not be as good as Archimedes and others, because he didn't know much about the situation in the territory of chaos and the 13 kingdoms in the south. In this way, Jason lived a completely comfortable life for the past 2 days, taking time to give Archimedes, Gandalf, and Maria advice on the preparation of elixirs, and not caring about anything else. For Jason, who is practicing, fighting, and fighting every day, this opportunity to relax is really rare. And because of this relaxation, Jason gained a deeper understanding of state adjustment and the mysterious laws. Seeing Jason and Reno walking into the yard, Loken and Archimedes immediately stood up. Loken even smiled and said, "Haha, I was listening to the senior brother's story about the master's time in the chaos. Where are the heroic deeds of the leader?" "Heroic deeds?" Jason suddenly laughed. Back then, he brought his father to the chaos territory to search for the cloud mist spirit fruit, which also completely changed their destiny. Thinking back on it, although it was difficult, it was really a time worth remembering. "Master, I'm very curious. Why did you fall in love with senior brother at first sight?" Lilo Kuan said with curiosity on his face, "I heard from senior brother that he was only 21 years old at that time, and he was just a young man. A third-level low-level spiritual master. Master, you gave the precious bodybuilding spiritual fluid to the elder brother without asking for anything, completely changing the destiny of the elder brother. The elder brother is now curious. What's so fancy about this? Maybe it's just a feeling that I don't like. Jason smiled lightly. Faced with Loken's question, he could only answer this way. He couldn't say that he had heard of Archimedes, the first spiritual medicine master in the last 1,000 years of the spiritual calendar, in later generations, right? Master, I have to say that you have really good vision. Look at senior brother, in just 6 years, senior brother has been promoted from the 3rd-level low-level emperor to the 7th-level high-level imperial spiritual master. Such a speed is simply terrifying. But that's not bad, after all, I'm not a bad disciple. What's even more surprising to me is senior brother's attainments in spiritual medicine. In 6 years, he has gone from just preparing powerful medicines that are not even first-level low-grade spiritual medicines. A young boy who grew up to be a 7th-level elixir master. Isn't this too exaggerated? I originally thought I was a genius, but now when I compare with my senior brother, speaking of this, Luo Kuan couldn't help but he shook his head, with a rare hint of admiration in his eyes. He really admired Archimedes. In 6 years, he was promoted from a 1st-level elixir apprentice to a 7th-level senior elixir master. It cannot be said that he is unprecedented, but he is definitely unprecedented, and there is only one master. Jason's level of genius in Loken's mind surpasses that of his senior brother Archimedes. Haha, junior brother, you don't need to praise me. Compared with master, I am nothing. Archimedes waved his hands repeatedly and said with a smile, not to mention master, you are the second best in terms of spiritual masters. I can't compare to a 13-year-old 7th-level senior imperial spiritual master. Senior brother, excessive modesty is pride. Luoquan curled his lips. Haha. Seeing Loken's playful look, Jason and Renaud both laughed. By the way, Archimedes, to be honest, your attainments in elixirs are indeed beyond my expectations. Although I am optimistic about your talent in elixirs, I still think that you will be good at 6th-level advanced elixirs. When Master Yao Zun was promoted to the 7th-level low-level elixir master, he would be stuck for a while, but he didn't expect that you would be directly promoted to the 7th-level low-level elixir emperor master without any bottleneck. I was very curious as a teacher. How did you advance? Speaking of this, Jason couldn't help but reveal a trace of doubt on his face. Although he knew that Archimedes in his previous life had the title of the #1 elixir master in the last millennium of the spiritual calendar and that he had extraordinary attainments in elixir science, he never imagined that he would advance to the 7th level in just 6 years. The realm of a senior elixir master. What is the concept of a 7th-level advanced elixir master? In any of the 4 major empires on the mainland, one can directly enter the Academy of Spiritual Medicine Master and become a top master who is only under the Palace Master and Deputy Palace Master, with a high status. Even in the Alchemist Tower with countless spiritual alchemist geniuses, only Lanui Gusen, Cassinus, and Edmes are the top 3 who have a higher level of spiritual alchemy than Archimedes, and have reached the 8th level of low-level spiritual medicine. They are just the top geniuses of the Medicine Emperor Master. This is because they are in the Spirit Medicine Master Tower, where they can get a lot of guidance and learning, and have an excellent environment. Moreover, their age is also far older than Archimedes. If they are allowed to return to the same age as Archimedes, Blue Moon Gusen, Jason doesn't know. At least, Cassinus and Edmets will be far away from each other. Far less so than Chimedes. Therefore, when Jason heard for the first time that Archimedes had become a 7th-level master of elixirs within 6 years of his discovery, he couldn't help but be surprised. But because the situation was critical at the time, he didn't take any special precautions. Asking, now that Luo Kuan mentioned it, Jason couldn't help but asked curiously. Seeing Jason asking, Archimedes immediately said, Master, actually, I have been thinking about a question when I was practicing these years. Oh? Jason raised his eyebrows. In reality, we often encounter a situation, that is, a powerful spiritual master can fight at a higher level, but a spiritual medicine master cannot prepare spiritual potions at a higher level. Jason nodded. What Archimedes said, the situation is indeed a problem. Generally, powerful spiritual masters can definitely fight beyond the level. Just like Luo Kuan, although he is only a 7th level high-level emperor spiritual master, he is no worse than an ordinary 8th level low-level emperor spiritual master. Such a situation is not uncommon. But the elixir master cannot. No matter how talented an elixir master is, he cannot prepare elixirs that exceed his own spiritual master level. This is a theorem in the mainland elixir master world, and almost no one can violate it. Of course, except for Jason, who has the technology of liquid medicine. I have been thinking about why there is such a big difference between spiritual masters and spiritual medicine masters. Archimedes said slowly, I finally summed up something. At this point, Archimedes' eyes suddenly lit up. I discovered that the reason why spiritual masters are able to fight across different levels is because everyone has different skills, physiques, attributes, etc. In the same level, a person can practice for a month. Spiritual masters who practice first-level skills are definitely stronger than spiritual masters who practice ordinary star-level skills. Not only the skills, but also spiritual skills, spirit rings, attributes, etc., can make spiritual masters of the same level extremely powerful. The difference. Having said this, Archimedes couldn't help but glance at Jason, and Renaud and the others couldn't help but cast their eyes on Jason. Jason is the best example. A 7th level high-level emperor spiritual master was able to defeat an 8th level high-level emperor spiritual master, which was an extreme example of cross-level combat. So I thought, since spiritual masters have so many aspects that can improve their combat capabilities and lead to cross-level battles, then why can't spiritual pharmacists improve their preparation level through other aspects? So as to carry out cross-level preparations? But I also discovered that elixir masters are completely different from spiritual masters, because there are no techniques or spiritual skills in the preparation of elixirs. The competition is entirely about the control of materials and the control of spiritual knowledge and spiritual power. Although there are some special techniques, such as the double spiritual power decomposition method, the dragon subduing decomposition method, and many other techniques and schools, but these only make it more convenient for the elixir master to prepare, but there is no essential difference. Master, Mr. Renaud, you still have remember when you, Master, competed with Patriarch Pierre for preparation, and you prepared the 7th level imperial elixir, causing strange phenomena in the world, and defeated Patriarch Pierre? Archimedes said. Jason nodded. The situation at that time could be said to be quite critical. In order to defeat Pierre, he prepared a 7th level emperor level regeneration potion, which defeated the 6th level high-grade vitality potion prepared by Pierre. Master, I remember that time, you were not yet a 7th level imperial spiritual master, but you prepared a 7th level imperial spiritual potion, which shocked me tremendously. Archimedes said slowly, I was wondering, why is this? Finally, I recalled carefully and found that the method you used to prepare the elixir was completely different from the orthodox elixir preparation method. It seemed that it did not require high spiritual awareness, but physical strength and operation. The technique has extremely strong requirements. Surprise suddenly appeared on Jason's face. Archimedes continued, later I found Master Gandalf, and I learned about some of your other preparation techniques from him. I found that they were indeed completely different from ordinary preparation methods. Ordinary preparation methods focus on spiritual consciousness and spiritual power, and your method should focus on the body and control. As for the other things, I don't know, these are just my guesses. So, I thought, we elixir masters can't skip the preparation. It's not that we can't, but that the existing preparation methods are only limited to a certain aspect. The whole system is still very narrow, blindly focusing on these preparation techniques of Jianlong decomposition hands. There is no way to achieve breakthroughs in terms of improvement. Instead, there should be breakthrough developments in other aspects, such as the body, control techniques, calculations, etc. When you prepare it, master this. Listening to his eldest disciple's narration, Jason was immediately stunned, looking at Archimedes with eyes full of admiration. Jason had completely figured this out when he was still young, so when he learned that he could never become a spiritual master, he gave up the spiritual stream and embarked on the technical stream. Now, his eldest disciple Archimedes also thought of what he had thought back then, which surprised him but also made him feel gratified. Then what? Jason suppressed the excitement in his heart and continued to ask round like Archimedes. Master, finally, I concluded that the preparation method of our spiritual medicine master should not only be the preparation of spiritual consciousness flow, but there must be other ways. These roads, on this continent, it has never appeared before, so it is not known to people. However, no matter which aspect of development, spiritual consciousness, physical fitness, or calculation, there must be other ways. This, I firmly believe. In Aki there was strong confidence in Mead's eyes, and her gaze fell on Jason, because, although I don't know which other paths are feasible, at least the preparation method that relies on the body that you have used is one of them. Speaking of this, Archimedes looked at Jason with burning eyes, wanting to get some advice and comments about his guesses from him. Looking at Archimedes' curious eyes, Jason was really shocked this time. It was not surprising that Archimedes suspected that there were other ways, but through research, he could see that spirituality knowledge, physical fitness, calculation and other aspects are extremely rare. You know, in this world, because Jason did not want to be exposed, although he did not show his skills in spiritual medicine in front of particularly powerful elixir masters, such as the 8th level advanced elixir master, some ordinary elixir masters did. Yes, there are quite a few. For example, Master Rudolph of the Northwest Kingdoms, Master Gandalf of the Territory of Chaos, Patriarch Pierre of the Curie family, and Elder Maria were the first to see Jason prepare it using the technology flow, and they were all at the 6th level. The Elixir Master or the 7th level Elixir Master. The stronger ones include Master Simons and Ballandain Dog Master from the Salem Empire's Elixir Master Academy. They are 7th level Elixir Masters. The strongest ones are Cassinus and Lon Yugusin, the core disciples of the Elixir Master Tower whom he discussed with. They are even 8th level low-level Elixir Emperor Masters. But these people, as weak as the Master of Spiritual Medicine and as strong as the Imperial Master of Spiritual Medicine, when they saw Jason's skills in spiritual medicine, although they had doubts and doubts, they never doubted the entire system of spiritual medicine, and they had no doubts. Follow Jason's preparation method. On the contrary, Archimedes, who was only in his 20s, after seeing a few of Jason's preparations, discovered many doubts in his subsequent practice, and finally concluded that this was shocking to the world. The truth made Jason sigh. More importantly, it was Archimedes' guess. He guessed that in addition to the flow of spiritual consciousness, there were also aspects such as physical fitness, calculation, etc. For Archimedes, this was just a guess in his summary process, and it may not necessarily be true. It's true. If it spread to the mainland, everyone would probably call Archimedes a madman. After all, Archimedes' words could be said to have completely overturned the elixir system on the mainland today. But for Jason, the later founder of Technique Ling Pharmacy, he knew deeply that Archimedes' guesses were true and completely achievable. At least, Jason now has 3 completely different systems of elixir preparation methods. The preparation of spiritual consciousness flow mainly based on spiritual power and spiritual consciousness, the preparation of technical flow mainly based on physical strength and physical law, and the preparation of Avogadro's law mainly based on pure calculation. Archimedes, on the other hand, relied entirely on his own guesses and conclusions to guess all these paths. How powerful is his knowledge and sensitivity in elixirs to be able to observe this? Of course, just guessing doesn't mean anything. Compared with Jason, who directly took a new path and created a brand new preparation method, Archimedes is still weaker, But this doesn't mean that Archimedes is weaker. Chimide is not strong. Jason in his previous life lived 3,000 years later. At that time, the development of spiritual medicine had made great progress compared with now. The preparation of spiritual consciousness flow had also developed to a limit. The overall environment was much better than it is now, and although spiritual medicine is becoming more and more important now, it cannot yet be compared with that of later generations. In the quiet courtyard, looking at Archimedes' expectant eyes, Jason couldn't help but nodded and affirmed, "Archimedes, my teacher can tell you that all of your guesses are true, except for spiritual consciousness. In addition to luling medicine, he can also find a unique path in other aspects." When he prepared the 7th level Imperial Regeneration Potion, he used a preparation method called technical flow, which required it as a brand new preparation method that combines powerful physical strength, unparalleled control, and unique physical sensitivity to the elixir reaction. Facing his disciples, Jason did not hide his clumsiness and said completely out, "Technology flows into spiritual medicine, technology flows into spiritual medicine." Archimedes murmured to himself, his eyes full of excitement, "Is it true?" "My guess is indeed true, Master, my guess is indeed true." Looking at Jason, Archimedes' expression was extremely excited. It was a kind of heartfelt joy that showed when his achievements were recognized. "But, Archimedes, this as a teacher, I can't teach you technical skills and medicine, because you are not suitable to follow the path of talking," Jason said aloud. This is not Jason's nonsense. The technical stream and the spiritual stream are two completely different paths. Just like the same athletes, some are long-distance running champions, some are gymnastics champions, some are swimming champions, and some are the long jump champion. Although the essence of athletes is the same, they are constantly improving their physical strength and exploring potential, but different events are completely different fields. For a gymnastics champion to get involved in the long-distance running championship, it is almost impossible. Impossible. Of course, there are people like Jason who have amazing talents in several fields, but how many such people have there been throughout the ages? Archimedes in his previous life had amazing talents in the spiritual consciousness flow. When Archimedes was not in the spiritual consciousness flow and reached his peak, Jason would not let him be distracted by other fields and aspects of. "I know, Master, I know this very well." Archimedes also nodded. "At the beginning, when I guessed that there was another way, although I knew it might be right, I did not study it in depth, because I knew that the skills of a spiritual medicine master are limited. If you learn everything, you will end up mastering nothing. The most important thing is to reach the peak of one of them first," Archimedes said firmly. Seeing that Archimedes was able to understand this, Jason nodded even more happily, and then asked doubtfully, "Archimedes, although you have said so much, how did you advance to the 7th level of Elixir King?" "Master, haven't you told me yet?" Archimedes suddenly laughed. "Master, when I made the guess, I didn't know whether it was correct or not. However, I just assumed that the guess was correct. So, since there are many ways to prepare the spiritual potion, why is there only one spiritual consciousness flow in the entire continent? The spiritual consciousness flow is Inyalu's only preparation method now. It is the most widely spread and the most classic. Maybe it may not be the best, but it is definitely the most suitable for the orthodoxy of our continent. So, I researched why it is the most suitable. Finally, I discovered that the key lies in strength. The preparation of spiritual consciousness flow can be combined with spiritual consciousness. The perfect combination of master levels. Every time a spiritual master improves by one level, his spiritual consciousness and spiritual power are improved. Once this aspect is integrated into the preparation, he can prepare stronger spiritual potions. Then everything has become simple. Since the elixir master and the spiritual master are so closely integrated, every time the spiritual master opens a level, the elixir master can also increase by one level. So when improving the strength of elixir medicine, we should start from the aspect of the spiritual master. Think about it. Why can only 7th level Imperial elixirs be prepared by 7th level Imperial spiritual masters? Because the preparation of 7th level Imperial elixirs requires an understanding of the elements. Only when the preparation is successful can the world be different. Elephants, and only when a spiritual master becomes an Imperial spiritual master can he have some understanding of the elements and prepare them. Therefore, if a 6th level spiritual master has no elemental awareness, how can he prepare a 7th level emperor with elemental awareness? Where are the elixirs? So, when I advanced to the 7th level low-level Imperial spiritual master, I combined the elemental insights I gained during my promotion to the 7th level low-level Imperial spiritual master into the elixir science and bring it into the preparation process. In this way, in the 2nd month after I was promoted to the 7th level low-level Imperial spiritual master, I prepared the simplest 7th level low-level Imperial spiritual elixir. This is why spiritual pharmacists cannot skip levels and can only follow the spiritual elixir. Behind the footsteps of the master level, this is the luck and sadness of the preparation of the spiritual consciousness flow. Fortunately, as long as the true meaning is truly understood, the spiritual master level can be improved, and the spiritual medicine master level can also be improved soon. Sadly, you can never break through the spiritual master level. Master, your technical skills are not limited by the spiritual master level. That's it. After listening to Archimedes' narration, Jason's heart was filled with emotion, and then he laughed. These 3 disciples of mine are really more powerful than the other, but this is also the reason why Archimedes is highly talented. The truth is very simple. I believe that in addition to Archimedes, there are some extremely rare geniuses on the mainland who can also understand it. At this point, the understanding is still the understanding, but how many people in the entire continent can really bring their insights into the preparation of elixirs after being promoted to the Imperial spiritual master? Only those who truly achieve this are true geniuses. It's no wonder that in his previous life, Archimedes was able to become the #1 elixir master in the last 1,000 years of the spiritual god's calendar, a 9th level elixir master. Such a talent can definitely be regarded as astonishing. In fact, what Archimedes didn't know is that every preparation method has limitations. The key to technical fluid medicine is physical strength. Although it is not affected by spiritual consciousness and spiritual power, physical strength is not enough, no matter how good it is in other aspects, and it is impossible to prepare elixirs that exceed the strength of the body. It is almost the same as those in the spiritual stream who cannot skip levels. In the courtyard of the king's family mansion, Jason looked at his eldest disciple Archimedes, his heart full of relief and emotion. He may have really changed a person's destiny. Archimedes in his previous life was still an ordinary spiritual master at this time, and he was not very powerful in the field of spiritual medicine. Even in the later years, Archimedes changed the shortcomings of weak meridians in his body and embarked on the road of becoming strong, but he had never seen Jason's preparation in his previous life, and he would not be like this now. Deep and understand so much. Now, under the changes of Jason, Archimedes had reached the level of 7th level senior imperial spiritual master when he was penniless in his previous life, and he had a vision far beyond that of his previous life. His great disciple Archimedes Jason is not sure about his future achievements and path. How far can he go? Just thinking about it, suddenly, a light flashed in Jason's mind, and a possibility emerged in his mind, and Jason's expression suddenly became excited. Since in the spiritual knowledge flow medicine, one must have the elemental perception of an 8th level low-level imperial spiritual master in order to become an 8th level imperial medicine master and prepare an 8th level emperor level spiritual potion, then having the technical flow spirit as a medicine student, can I learn more about the elements of each system from the prepared emperor level spiritual potion, and then let myself break through to the 8th level emperor spiritual master? Jason couldn't help but get excited when he thought of this possibility. It is entirely possible that with his own technical strength, he can prepare some emperor-level elixirs with 5 elements attributes, and then during the preparation process, He can understand the elements and improve his attainments in the laws of elements. In this way, it may be easier for him to reach the 8th level. Haha. At this moment, Jason couldn't help laughing heartily. Seeing Jason's cheerful look, it made Renaud, Loken and Archimedes present confused. Come on, Archimedes, you go and get ready. I'm going to prepare a magical elixir for you. Just do it as soon as you think of it. Jason gave the order without any hesitation. Master wants to prepare a magical potion? Archimedes' eyes suddenly lit up, and he turned around and rushed directly to the laboratory. For Archimedes, being able to watch his master prepare it would help him learn a lot. Territory of Chaos. 4 figures suddenly appeared in the sky outside the City of Chaos. The leader was a brown-haired man wearing a khaki robe. Behind him, there were 3 strong men in black robes lined up. Is that the City of Chaos at the center of the Territory of Chaos in the distance? The thin man in khaki robes, with hair like thousands of brown poisonous snakes twisting, said with an evil smile, "Then Jason lay, in this chaos, in the city?" "Yes, Lord Gilroy." Jeremy behind the man said respectfully, "This City of Chaos is the central city of the City of Chaos. Since Jason Lay are the leaders of the Territory of Chaos, it's in this City of Chaos." Intentional Ghost. The thin man looked at the City of Chaos not far away, and the dense figures that kept shaking in the city. "This City of Chaos is well built, I don't know what is going on." "What kind of boy is he?" "He came to this chaotic territory to occupy the mountain and become the king." "Sir Gilroy, my subordinates will capture Jace and Lay for you later and hand them over to the heavenly beings for your disposal." 3 of them. Among the strong men, an old man with a wrinkled face came out and said respectfully, "Haha." The thin man laughed lightly, and the 4 of them immediately flew towards the City of Chaos. In the City of Chaos. Originally, due to the attack of the 13 kingdoms in the Southern Territory, the people were evacuated from the extremely sparse city. At this moment, the streets were full of people and traffic. Countless people were busy with their own affairs, with smiles from the bottom of their hearts on their faces. It has been almost half a month since the battle between Jason and Slime. The news that Jason and Reno returned and killed all the masters of the 13 kingdoms in the southern region has spread throughout the Chaos Territory. Come. As the teams from the Territory of Chaos continued to advance and regain lost ground, some families and forces that had left the City of Chaos because they were worried about the invasion of the 13 kingdoms of the southern region also returned to the City of Chaos from various places. Many people and forces who returned to the City of Chaos were asking about the battle half a month ago. They were all extremely excited when they heard others tell how brave Lord Jace was and how he defeated the enemy. It is true that everyone has been suppressed for too long. The attack of the 13 kingdoms in the Southern Territory has made all the people live on tenterhooks. For more than a year, all the people in the Chaos Territory have been living on tenterhooks. Now, with the complete defeat of the 13 kingdoms in the Southern Territory, everyone's hearts are filled with a sense of security, especially after they heard that Master Jace was the 8th level senior imperial spiritual master who was the highest among the 13 kingdoms in the Southern Territory. When Master Slime was defeated, he was even more excited. The 8th level high-level emperor spiritual master, in the Chaos Territory, only the 7th level emperor spiritual master was born in the past 1,000 years. It is definitely a legendary existence. When I think of my own Chaos Territory, now there is such a strong leader, the people were extremely excited. Let me tell you, back then, I was near the trading center, and the battle between Master Jace and several masters from the 13 kingdoms of the southern region took place right above my head. The momentum was simply astonishing on the streets of the chaotic city. A strong man was spitting about what he had seen and heard, and in front of him, a large group of people gathered. Master Jace was in that position at the beginning. The strong man raised his head and pointed to the sky. His originally excited expression suddenly froze, and his eyes widened. "Hey, what is that?" In his sight, 4 black spots suddenly appeared in the sky above the city of chaos. In astonishment, the onlookers couldn't help but look up, trying to see what the black spots were. Then, those seemed to be 4 figures? People with good eyesight couldn't help but wonder. It is indeed 4 people. 4 imperial spiritual masters? Where did it come from? Just when all the people were talking about it. Jace, come out. A cold and rich voice resounded through the city of chaos. A thunderous shout, mixed with terrifying pressure, echoed in every corner of the city of chaos. At this moment, countless people in the city raised their heads and turned their gazes. Throw it in a certain direction, where the images of 4 people are demon gods, standing proudly in the sky. In the laboratory in the Khan's family mansion, Jason is preparing to prepare the elixir, while Archimedes, Maria, Gandalf and others, they all gathered together, preparing to observe Jason's preparation. Suddenly, a terrifying coercion instantly enveloped the entire city of chaos. Jason's face immediately changed, and then a loud shout came to everyone. In someone's ear. Looking for me? Jason and others suddenly flew to the yard outside and looked up. I saw 4 stagnant figures in the sky. The middle-aged man at the head was wearing spotless robes and had long brown hair that was constantly twisting like a poisonous snake, giving people an extremely evil feeling. Seeing these 4 people, Jason couldn't help but trembled. He could feel the terrifying aura contained in the bodies of these 4 people. Jason, who are they? On the side, Renault also felt the terrifying spiritual power contained in the other party. The powerful aura made him, an 8th-level intermediate emperor, spiritual master, tremble involuntarily. I don't know either. Jason frowned, he's here to find me. Father, Archimedes, and Loken, you stay here while I go up and have a look. After saying that, Jason flew over immediately half empty. Who are you? I'm looking for Jace, the leader of the Chaos Territory, and ask him to come out to me. Seeing Jason, the thin man leading the group frowned. I don't know who you are. Jason's face changed slightly as he felt the terrifying aura emanating from the other party's body. Just the aura naturally emanating from the opponent's body can make him tremble. This feeling was something Jason had only experienced before when he saw the promotion of Elder Samuel of the Gira's family. The other party turned out to be a 9th-level Holy Spirit Master? Jason was shocked, but at the same time he couldn't help but wonder. It seemed that he didn't know any 9th-level Holy Spirit Master in this chaotic territory. Is it possible? Jason thought of a possibility, and his pupils couldn't help but shrink. Are you Jace? A 7th-level high-level Imperial Spiritual Master? The thin man at the head frowned, and there was a hint of evil in his eyes. It was you who injured the slime? A 7th-level high-level Imperial Spiritual Master? What a joke! Jason's expression suddenly changed, it is indeed that slime. Who is that slime person? Opposite, the skinny man had a trace of displeasure in his eyes. Jeremy, kill him, Mark, take action and force that Jace out. The skinny man's words trailed off, and among the 3 people behind him, the 2 of them suddenly moved. Sniff. One of the men with cold eyes and long silver hair immediately aimed at Jason and rushed over. A pitch-black sword suddenly appeared in his opponent's hand, with a strange black air flowing on the surface, heading towards Jason / down. Boom! A terrifying coercion instantly enveloped the entire world, and countless strange black knife shadows soared into the sky, like countless black pythons rushing toward Jason. Haha, die! The silver-haired man laughed with a hint of evil murderous intent in his eyes. On the side, another wrinkled old man stepped aside, with a sneer at the corner of his mouth. He pointed at the city of chaos below and waved a terrifying coercion, and suddenly, the endless elements of heaven and earth surged rapidly. They gathered together, and there was a rumbling sound over the chaotic city on the earth. Fire elements directly formed a huge flame cloud in the sky. Humph! The old man smiled coldly and turned his hand over. Boom! The huge flame cloud over the city of chaos exploded directly, and endless flames suddenly appeared, aiming at the city of chaos below and pressing down. Not good. In the sky, Jason's eyes suddenly changed. Although he was alert in his heart, the other party's movements were too fast. Two 8th-level peak Emperor spiritual masters shot at the same time, leaving him no time to react. He wanted to stop the wrinkled old man from taking action and rescue Archimedes and the others below, but the silver-haired man's fierce attack had already arrived in front of him at this moment. The situation suddenly became a crisis. At this moment, countless demonic sword shadows like wing-colored pythons came to Jason in an instant. Each of these sword shadows was as thick as a bucket, wrapped in terrifying spiritual power, and made a chirp sound in the air. There was a chi sound, and tiny space cracks appeared at the edge. Although Jason seemed to be just a 7th-level high-level Imperial spiritual master, the silver-haired man was not careless at all. As soon as he made a move, it was a killing move that was going to turn Jason into a powder in an instant. Facing the opponent's attack, in the crisis, Jason drew out the black heavy sword from behind. Boom! 5 colors of divine light suddenly bloomed from his body, and the powerful aura dispersed. The black ape instantly turned into a black roar, roaring towards the dozens of black giant pythons. The law of 5 elements, reincarnation of heaven and earth. Boom! 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 Countless collisions sounded, and cracks in the sky appeared and disappeared. Poof! 2 terrifying forces collided, and Jason felt a cold breath entering his body directly through the attack, spreading to the sky above the spiritual sea in his mind. His figure quickly retreated, his face changed. A moment of paleness. The opponent's attack actually contained a spiritual attack, causing Jason to suffer a huge loss. The other party obviously did not expect that Jason, a 7th-level senior Imperial spiritual master, could burst out with such a powerful force. Under Jason's attack, his body also shook for a while, and his whole person instantly fell back. You guy. The other person's face also turned pale, and his cold eyes stared at Jason like poisonous snakes, full of anger. However, Jason paid no attention to the other party at all. While his whole body was being split open, his eyes were filled with horror as he looked to the side at the old man who was aiming at the city of chaos and suddenly attacked. With a faint smile on his face, the old man waved his right hand down gracefully. Over the city of chaos, exploding clouds suddenly spurted out flames all over the sky, like sad cherry blossoms, continuously sweeping through the air, forming a huge firestorm, containing terrifying energy, aimed at the bottom. The Consi family's mansion fell suddenly. No. Jason's eyes widened instantly, and he let out a shrill roar. Whoosh! At this moment, a golden figure rose into the sky from the mansion below. It was Renaud. A bottle of spiritual potion suddenly appeared in his hand, and he drank it in one gulp. In an instant, an unparalleled power burst out from Renaud's body. The astonishing auric dissipated, and Renaud's whole body glowed with golden light and a strong aura rising from him. Buzz! Countless golden sword shadows flew out from Renaud's body. Thousands of golden lights appeared over the entire city of chaos. For a time, countless sword shadows floated, and the original power of the golden law spread throughout the sky. Emerged, and then combined with the spiritual power released by Renaud, it instantly condensed into a world, covering the entire city of chaos. The metal spiritual master basically controls the 6th form of the secret method, the world of one sword. In the sky, countless golden rays of light were flying in the air like thousands of golden swords, constantly rotating, trembling slightly, and the terrifying golden power spread out, causing the space to distort. The endless firestorm swept down and collided with the world of swords instantly. Boom! 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 Explosions filled the sky, and a huge spiritual storm swept everything. The golden sword rainbow and flames in the sky continued to disappear. Renaud was in this spiritual storm, resisting the opponent's attack. Seek death. The wrinkled old man snorted coldly. There were 2 scorching suns in his eyes. His strength instantly increased to the maximum, and his palms pressed down again. Stop. Seeing this scene, Jason looked crazy on the side, his eyes were red, and he rushed towards the wrinkled old man, trying to block his attack. Humph. Not far away, the silver-haired man who had fought with Jason before snorted coldly. He appeared in front of Jason in an instant, and aimed his strange black sword at Jason again. You brat, your opponent is me. The silver-haired man said coldly. Damn it. Jason gritted his teeth and could only wave his black épée to block the opponent. Boom. Amidst the explosion, the 2 people retreated again. However, because of the silver-haired man's obstruction, the wrinkled old man finally released his attack again. For a moment, the sky over the entire Chaos City turned fiery red, and the sky was filled with flames that covered the sky and the sun, and fell heavily. Boom. 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 Reynolds' world of swords could no longer withstand it and began to collapse, constantly bursting and shrinking. Ah! Reno's eyes widened with anger, and he let out a shrill roar. The power in his body continued to rise, and his whole body seemed to turn into a golden sun, burning his life. Pung! His body was bursting with blood, and the world of swords became stable again. The endless flames and sword rainbow finally dissipated completely in the sky and turned into nothingness. Renault's body, covered in blood, stood unsteadily in the sky. Father! Looking at Renault covered in blood, Jason's heart felt like it had been stabbed by a needle, and he cried out in grief. Below the mansion, Loken, Archimedes, and others also flew up and supported Renault. Reno Dogman. Everyone supported Reno, with fear and anger on their faces. You all get down, and sneak out of here quickly. Reno blocked the support of Archimedes and Loken, with a cold look on his face. He rose into the sky and stood with Jason. Father! Jason's face was full of heartache, and he supported Renault. The wood spirit beads in his body rotated, flowing out the vitality of the wood element, healing Renault's injuries. Whoosh! Whoosh! Loken and Archimedes also rose into the sky at this moment and came to Jason and Reno. Bastard, who asked you to come up? Didn't I ask you to leave? Seeing Loken and Archimedes, Renault said angrily. Haha, you actually blocked Jeremy's attack. Yes, you are really the Jace who injured the slime. It surprises me. It really surprises me. At this moment, after the battle started, Gilroy, who had never made a sound, smiled. When Jason appeared at first, he didn't believe that Jason, a 7th-level senior Imperial spiritual master, was the same Jace who injured Slime, an 8th-level senior Imperial spiritual master. But after Jeremy and Jason got to know each other before, Gilroy believed it. Jeremy was a peak 8th-level Dark-type Imperial spiritual master. Anyone who could block his attack would indeed have the ability to injure slimes. Strength. Jason and the others all laid their eyes on Gilroy. Everyone could feel the terror of the man in the khaki robe, especially Jason, who couldn't help but tremble in his heart. He knew clearly that the other party is a 9th-level Holy Spirit Master. Although he is strong now, he can only fight against ordinary 8th-level peak Emperor Spiritual Masters. A 9th-level Holy Spirit Master, Jason, who was followed by many Holy Spirit Masters in his previous life, is deeply concerned. Know how powerful they are. Emperor Spiritual Master and Holy Spirit Master are 2 completely different concepts. Even the Emperor Spirit Master at the peak of the 8th level cannot be compared with the Holy Spirit Master at the 9th level. The gap between them can be described as worldwide. Since you are Jace, then you are Lei? Have you 2 entered the Spirit God treasure? Gilroy looked at Jason and Reno. To be honest, I am also very touched by the Spirit God treasure. Interest, I think you all know the purpose of my coming, right? Gilroy looked at everyone with a smile. Spiritual God treasure? Jason's heart skipped a beat. He looked directly at the other four. Sir, I injured that slime. I also entered the spiritual god treasure. Don't you just want to enter the spiritual god treasure? Okay, I'll take you there. As for them, please let them live. This matter has nothing to do with them. Jason spoke to Gilroy in the sky. You take us to the spiritual treasure? Let them go? Gilroy's eyes lit up and a smile appeared on his face. That's a good idea. Jason Reno glared at Jason, while Akimide and Luo Kuan also looked over. Take them to the hiding place of the spiritual god yourself? So what if you give them all the death maze? As long as he could keep his father okay, and keep Loken and Archimedes okay, he would be willing to do it no matter how much Jason had to pay. They are what Jason really wants to protect in this world. Jason ignored everyone's gazes and stared at Gilroy, expecting Gilroy's answer. Haha. Gilroy suddenly laughed. That's a good suggestion. Originally, I was going to capture you and Nale and let you two take us to the spiritual god treasure, but the wind Gilroy suddenly changed the topic, and the smile on his face suddenly turned extremely cold. Now after seeing you, I have changed my mind. I don't want you to live. Not only you, but also everyone else in the territory of chaos. I'm going to die. Jason's expression immediately changed. Your Excellency, you 3 8th level peak Imperial spiritual masters behind Gilroy flew out in an instant, directly killing Jason, Renault, and Luo Kuan. Archimedes were surrounded by 4 people. I feel a hint of threat from you. Gilroy smiled lightly. It's surprising that there are so many geniuses in the small territory of chaos. I see that 3 of you only have 2. More than 10, all of them have reached the 7th level Senior Emperor Spiritual Master. Especially you, Jace, can actually defeat Slime, the 8th level Senior Emperor Spiritual Master, at the level of the 7th level Senior Emperor Spiritual Master. With you, the genius of the earth is the enemy, so it is better to nip the threat in the cradle. As for the spiritual treasure, there are several Emperor Spiritual Masters below. I heard that this legend has been circulated in the territory of chaos for thousands of years, but I don't believe it, except you and the rest of them will not know. As the Lord of Nanchang, the city of sin, how could Gilroy not know the importance of this? Since he is an enemy of Jason, he must kill Jason immediately. Sir, you don't need to take action to deal with them, just the 3 of us. Jeremy said respectfully. Hurry up. Gilroy smiled calmly and said, I still have to go to the spiritual treasure, and I don't want to waste too much time here. Let's do this, Jeremy, you and Stone deal with Jason. As for the remaining, the next 3 people, Mark, will be left to you. Gilroy quickly assigned each person a target to fight. According to what Slime said, Jace's strength is the strongest in the entire Chaos territory, and the remaining people are not of concern. Yes, Lord Gilroy. Faced with Gilroy's instructions, the 3 of them all had smiles on their faces. According to Slime's information, this Jason's strength can barely reach the peak of the 8th level. But Jeremy and Stone are both true 8th level peak Emperor Spiritual Masters. Either one of them can kill the Slime. If the 2 of them join forces, Jason, who can barely reach the 8th level peak strength, can resist it. Whoosh! Whoosh! Immediately, the silver-haired man and another man in black robe surrounded Jason, and the wrinkled old man looked at the 3 Renaults with a smile. Seeing that the other party quickly found the target, Jason and others suddenly felt a sense of desolation in their hearts. Father, Loken, Archimedes, when the battle starts, you run away and don't look back. I will stop them. Jason said to the 3 of them through a message. Escape? Archimedes and Loken looked at each other, with a trace of determination in their eyes. Haha, do it. The silver-haired man laughed suddenly, and an unparalleled pressure suddenly rose up on his body. Black airflows continued to diffuse from his body, lingering around him and setting him off. Incomparably weird. The silver-haired man Jeremy is an 8th level peak dark element Imperial Spiritual Master. And in the hands of another black-robed man on the side, a spear suddenly appeared. On the spear, there were ancient spiritual patterns flowing, and strong with spiritual power, which instantly rose into the sky and blocked the sun. Chi. Phew. The two of them turned into two phantoms, one black and one green, like two fluttering fallen leaves, strangled directly towards Jason from both sides. Who? Jason's figure also moved, an endless five-color divine light rose into the sky. A set of black armor instantly appeared on Jason's body, and the black épée in his opponent's hand turned into a black angry dragon, attacking, follow the roots of the two people. The god-destroying technique, 7 times the combat power. A terrifying roar sounded in the sky, and a large space hole instantly appeared in the sky and then disappeared in a moment. Poof. Jason quickly backed away, his face turned pale, blood overflowed from the corner of his mouth, and there were also slight cracks in the black armor on his body. Facing the attack of 2 8th-level peak Emperor spiritual masters alone, Jason was injured in just one move. Not far away from Jason, Renaud and Mark also fought together instantly. At the same time, Archimedes and Loken behind Renaud each had a bottle of elixir in their hands, and then drank it in one gulp. With the help of these 2 bottles of spiritual potion, the strength of the two of them, the 7th level advanced level, instantly increased. Loken reached the 8th level advanced level, and Archimedes also reached the 8th level intermediate level. The two of them turned into a phantom at the same time and flew towards Mark. The elixirs that Archimedes and Loken took were given to them by Jason a few days ago. Although at the auction in Rondo province, Jason auctioned almost all the royal level items on his body. However, there were also a few bottles that Jason planned to give to his father, Archimedes, and others in the territory of chaos, but they were not auctioned off. Jason didn't expect that within a few days, the bottles of elixir he had just sent would come in handy. The bottle of spiritual potion that Renaud took before was also given by Jason, which allowed him to go from an 8th-level intermediate imperial spiritual master to an 8th-level advanced imperial spiritual master. Coupled with Renaud's unique understanding of the laws of the metal system, barely able to enter the 8th-level peak realm. This is also the reason why Renaud was able to block Namark's full blow with the World of Swords before. But it was useless. In the same move, Renaud, who had been injured before, was sent flying by Mark's move. Loken and Archimedes were even more unbearable, and were hit directly with there was a huge wound, and blood spurted out from it. With just one blow of contact, both Jason's sides were injured. Hurry up. Gilroy, who was in control of the overall situation from a distance, frowned dissatisfied. Father, Loken, Archimedes, seeing that the 3 people did not obey his words and ran away, Jason was a little angry, but he did not feel the slightest surprise. Over the years, in every life and death crisis, neither father nor son had ever escaped alone. While Jason was thinking, Jeremy and the two had launched another attack. Astonishing explosions kept ringing in the sky. Jason, Jeremy, and Stone fought together. The terrible spiritual power dispersed. The spiritual god art in Jason's body was operating to the maximum. The golden spirit bead, wood spirit bead, and earth spirit bead were used. The spirit beads rotated rapidly, and the god-destroying technique also increased its combat power to 7 times. However, under the siege of Jeremy, 2 8th-level peak Emperor spiritual masters, numerous cracks quickly appeared in Jason's black armor, and blood continued to overflow from his mouth. On the side, the 3 Renauds who were fighting Mark were even more miserable, covered in blood. At this moment, Jason noticed a scene that shocked him. The flaming giant sword in Mark's hand, after splitting the attacks of his father and Loken, hit the long sword in the hand of his eldest disciple Archimedes. The long sword in Archimedes' hand was directly broken, and Mark, the flaming giant sword in his hand, rubbed hard against Archimedes' chest. Ah! Archimedes screamed in agony, and a puff of blood spurted out from his chest. His whole body was burning with fire, and he fell to the ground, not knowing whether he was alive or dead. Archimedes! Jason roared in pain, but was affected by the attacks released by Jeremy and Stone. The cracked black armor finally shattered, and there was blood seeping from the robe. However, Jason was completely oblivious, looking at Gilroy not far away with red eyes. "We must not let Father and the others die here," he roared unwillingly in his heart. With a flick of his left hand, a bottle of elixir, containing terrifying spiritual power, suddenly appeared in his hand. This is a bottle of elixir with 5 colors. It exudes magnificent light under the sunlight. The 5-color glow continues to flow, exuding astonishing and terrifying spiritual power. What surprised Jeremy and others was that in addition to exuding terrifying spiritual power, the 5-color potion also had a hint of coercion. "This is an 8th-level Imperial elixir?" Not only Jeremy, but also Gilroy was surprised when he felt the pressure emitted by this elixir. This bottle of Emperor-level elixir is the only bottle of Emperor-level elixir that Jason has on him. It was the 7th-level strongest Emperor-level elixir he prepared when he competed with his core disciple Paltrow in the Elixir City. When the potion was the Emperor potion, it absorbed the 7th-grade high-grade Crazy Gold potion prepared by Paltrow and independently evolved into the Emperor-grade Spirit potion. In the surprise of Gilroy and others, Jason poured the 5-color elixir into his mouth without any hesitation. Boom! With the entrance of this bottle of nameless Emperor-level spiritual potion, Jason's spiritual power erupted like a volcano, reaching an extremely terrifying level in an instant. 8th-level Emperor-level spiritual potion. You actually have an 8th-level Emperor-level spiritual potion in your body. However, it is such a pity. You are only a 7th-level high-level Imperial spiritual master. Taking the 8th-level Emperor-level spiritual potion, it's just a waste of natural resources. Gilroy shook his head and sighed. Jason didn't speak. He knew that Gilroy was right. With his 7th-level senior Imperial spiritual master's strength, no matter how many spiritual potions he took, unless it was a 9th-level Saint-level spiritual potion, at most it would only allow him to reach the level of it is only the peak of the 8th level, and it is impossible to break through the 8th level. What is even more sad is that as the spiritual power in his body breaks through from the 7th level to the 8th level, he cannot use the god-destroying killing technique 7 times the combat power. In contrast, Jason's strength did not change much before and after taking the elixir. However, Jason's face was calm. The reason why he took this bottle of Emperor-level elixir was just to perform that extremely terrifying move. What the hell? The spiritual god art in Jason's body started to work rapidly, and the strange black power in his body also started to beat slightly. A black strange power and Jason's own 5-element spiritual power gradually merged together under Jason's control. Pung! The moment the two forces came into contact and merged, a thunderous sound erupted from Jason's body, and powerful and terrifying spiritual power rose up and spread continuously. A terrifying pressure suddenly spread from Jason's body. What does this kid want to do? Seeing Jason's actions, Jeremy and Stone were both confused. However, after feeling the terrifying pressure transmitted from Jason's body, his face changed. Because they could feel that an extremely terrifying energy was being generated in Jason's body. This energy was felt by their 2 8th-level peak Emperor spiritual masters, and they could not help but feel a trace of panic in their hearts. The two of them looked at each other with a fierce look in their eyes. No matter what this kid is going to do, he must be stopped. Whoops! The two figures moved at the same time and rushed towards Jason. Jason's expression immediately changed slightly and he retreated violently. Humph, you want to run away? Brat, your defense is good, but no matter how strong you are only a 7th-level high-level Imperial spiritual master. Let's see if you can block my move. Silver-haired man, Jeremy, a sharp cold drink came from his mouth, and countless black rays of light bloomed from his body, like a burning black sun. Waves of heart-stopping auras escaped. As the black light rose, there was a strong murderous aura. Black light spread out from his body.